And which of the following do you fund pay for yourself? Again, select the ones that apply here. Which do you have to pay for? Okay, we've got 60 votes in there. So I think we can close it at that. I think that's the last question. I'm pretty sure. Thank you, Rahel. Good. Thank you. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Nigel will give you the results later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. We look forward to seeing what those results are going to be later this morning. It's time now that if you can just leave the voting cards on the table and leave them there at the end of the day, please. We're going to start now with our first panel. So I would like to welcome our panelists up to the stage, please. Rabia Ataya from bait.com. If you could take your seat, please. Callum Burns, up there, Rabia, on the other side. The steps are on the other side of the stage if you want to use the steps. Callum Burns Green, Mercer's country head for the Middle East. And Anthony Simpson, the managing partner for the Middle East at Odgers Berndtson. If you can join Sean Evers, managing partner at Gulf Intelligence. He's going to be our moderator today with the panelists. Thank you very much. Anthony?
Whoops. Hello? Yeah. Okay, great.
1, 2.
Well, thank you very much, Diala and John, for the survey. I suppose I could start by slightly repeating the introductions, but for the sake of context, I'd like to do that. At the far end of the seating panel is Rabia Ataya, CEO of bait.com, a 10-year-old firm, which is the #1 job site in the Middle East, and hosts over 5 million registered job seekers in the Middle East, North Africa region and worldwide. Has 40,000 registered employers. And thank you, Rabia. I know you just came back from the US to make the event, and I appreciate that. Callum Burns Green is, as Diala introduced, the country's head of the Middle East for Mercer, which for those who may not be familiar, and I can't imagine there's too many, is a global health benefits consulting firm and a unit of the New York-based Marsh & McClellan, the world's second biggest insurance broker. And thank you, Callum. And to my left, Anthony Simpson, managing partner Middle East of Odgers Berndtson, which is a 45-year-old executive search firm operating in 27 countries worldwide. So we have a pretty nice, diverse, both regional and global perspective on the stage, and hopefully we'll be able to benefit from that in our discussion. They usually say the person with the microphone is in charge. In this case, everybody in this room is within a foot of a microphone. So please look to take advantage of that, and that's the whole point of their present on your table. We may start with a little bit of a chat on the stage, but we'll quickly move to the audience. So if you have comments or questions, please put up your hands and we will be going to the floor rather promptly. I suppose I'll just hit it straight on the head, the topic of the day. Anthony, is the expat package dead?
I think, as we discussed yesterday, the expat package is alive and well. I think the expat and where the expat come from has slightly changed, and there's been a shift in the market, which is making it reasonably painful for some people, but for people from other parts of the world, it's a very attractive place to come to, the Middle East.
Rabia, in the multiple million registered job seekers on your website, would the word expat be in their vernacular? Is that something that is simply a hangover from, Simon mentioned, the 1970s labor market? Is that a real term for the people you're engaging with?
So I think it's just interesting to look around the crowd here, and I guess as you walk around Dubai, it's equally interesting. 90% of the working population is expat, and so by definition, perhaps the expat package is alive. But if you dig a bit deeper and you ask our 5 million job seekers, do they believe that the expat package is alive. And by definition, what they think about as an expat package is something out of the ordinary, a perk that they wouldn't otherwise be getting. By a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 times as many people believe that the expat package is dead in their companies. And then when we ask them about it in the economy at large, again, it's about 2.5-to-1. So I think the reality is packages for most expats, because of the way the law is structured, include a housing element and various other perks, and that's because it helps employers reduce their end-of-service benefits. But I think in terms of extraordinary perks that are being paid to expats these days, I think that's increasingly on the decline, and we're seeing less and less of it, and that's, I think, proven by the fact that most job seekers in the region believe they're not getting an expat package anymore in that sense.
Well, I can relate to that. The HSBC Expat Explorer Survey 2010 did give a majority of the majority of 67% sort of indicating that expat package idea was alive and well, which seemed quite a big number to me. But I'm wondering, Callum, is the idea that the expat package at least may be eroding? What is it, a chicken and an egg that the expat package is eroding, and so there are consequences of that, or there are consequences and so the expat package is eroding in that companies are choosing to erode them?
Well, I think the package is eroded. It's already been eroded. I think that if you look back for 10, 15 years, a typical expat package was essentially where an individual was moved to a host country for 3 to 5 years. It was a home country approach. So their salary was based on what they were earning in their home country, run through a balance sheet, and on top of that was built a series of allowances, housing, transport and education, but also things like cost of living allowances, premiums for moving away from their home country, hardship allowances, those types of areas. What's happened over the last 10 years or so is that the package, or the typical package in the Middle East, and particularly in the UAE, has moved to what some people term a local plus package. So because there's been so much movement of mobility of people within the region, people switching jobs and labour laws allowing them to switch jobs within the Middle East much more easily, you have a situation where there is now a benchmark position for local salaries here, and the package looks like a local salary plus housing, transport and education. But there's 2 fundamental differences between that and an expat package. One is that the richer allowances, things like club memberships, utility bill payments, and to some degree cost of living, hardship allowances have been eroded considerably. The other issue is that traditional expats were put on home country or international benefit programs, things like pension, retirement programs, those types of things. As people have moved around jobs within the region, they've lost connection with their home country plans. As we know, there's very little or no social security for them in the Middle East, and therefore there is a gap that exists now with much of the local population of expatriate or third country nationals working here. Where
I like that word, third country nationals. It's an interesting point when you think of what Simon said, that we are all here in a sort of, there's an overwhelming sense of transientness and temporariness, and in that comes perhaps a less willingness to sort of make the kind of commitments that one would normally do in a home country. But is that transformation, what do you see as the consequence of that in terms of people being moved off of that sort of security comfort of the framing? I remember when I came here first, my immediate competitor had a warehouse full of furniture, and all of their employees got to go to that warehouse and select out all the goodies they wanted to put in their apartment or their house. We were incredibly envious of this great perk that they had that we did not have. Now, that's sort of coddle bowling to an extreme, but now it's, as you've highlighted, gone much, much further, that the obligation to care for oneself is much greater. What's the consequence of that in a regional sense, do you think?
We have an increasing population of third country nationals who are in a situation where they are increasingly given cash allowances rather than the types of benefits that you've spoken of, not just in terms of things like furniture, but in housing, education, transport. These have moved towards cash allowances over the last 5-10 years, away from an actual benefit being provided.
But are people using that money sensibly, efficiently, that they're now getting that they previously would have